The jungle swallowed the last ray of daylight as Agent Matteo Ricci stepped off the rusted truck. Humidity wrapped around him like a warning. He faced an impossible problem, proving which Nazi leaders had slipped into South America, despite decades of silence engineered to erase them. Intelligence files show more than 9,000 Nazi affiliates escaped Europe between 1945 and 1950. Routes wound through Spain, Italy, and Croatia, before reaching Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and Paraguay. Only a fifth were ever formally traced. Matteo pushed through choking vines, every buzz of insects amplified in the heat. The trees seemed to lean inward, guarding their buried secrets. One wrong approach here meant more than danger. This forest protected ghosts trained to vanish. Newly declassified archives confirm Ratline B, an escape network built on forged Vatican papers and Red Cross IDs. Its success rate for high-value fugitives neared 70%, a system as efficient as it was invisible. Matteo brushed dirt from a half-buried crate, the wood reeking of mold and petrol. His pulse quickened. His instructor's warning resurfaced. History lies loudest where it pretends to sleep. The phrase pressed against him like the weight of the air itself. Argentine immigration logs reveal surges in German arrivals between 1947 and 1950. Manifests used vague trades and altered birth dates. Analysts estimate at least 300 of those arrivals were former SS officers. Matteo lifted the crate. Inside lay a bundle of faded papers bound with wire. Heat climbed the back of his neck as he imagined the names hidden within. His breath thinned. Part of him feared the truth he claimed to seek. Historians confirm Odessa aided many of these escapes, a network long denied yet now linked to safe houses scattered across Buenos Aires, Bariloche, and Asunción. A twig snapped behind him. Matteo spun, flashlight trembling. The jungle stared back in silence. He forced his breathing steady, though fear coiled up his spine. He'd been shadowed before, his leads buried, his reports quietly erased. Intelligence summaries show senior Allied officers discouraged deep investigations after 1946. One memo deemed such pursuits strategically unnecessary, fearing diplomatic fallout with emerging South American partners. Matteo opened the bundle. Inside were photographs, pale men in tailored suits before Argentine chalets. One looked disturbingly like an SS commander declared dead in 1945. Matteo's stomach knotted with disbelief. Facial recognition analyses suggest matches between these images and wartime portraits, with confidence levels above 80%, directly challenging long-accepted death reports issued during Berlin's collapse. His radio crackled. Colonel Vargas, his human antagonist, ordered him to stand down, calling the mission a chase after phantoms. Vargas had obstructed him for months, burying every lead that threatened political stability. Matteo tightened his grip on the radio. Sweat stung his eyes. His old failure, misidentifying a suspect in Europe, rose like a bruise in his memory. Doubt surged. What if this trail was another illusion? Then he noticed a stamp on one photo. A boarding mark from 1948, issued only in La Plata. He'd seen it twice before in unrelated cases. The pattern struck him cold. This wasn't chance. Someone had mapped escape routes with precision. Matteo followed a faint trail to a ruined shed. Leaves crackled beneath his boots. The air smelled of rust and damp wood. He felt watched. Every shadow pulsed with the quiet hostility of a past, unwilling to be uncovered. Forensic studies of former German settlements show localized population spikes of nearly 40% between 1951 and 1960. Many settlers shared origins in Bavaria and Württemberg, hinting at coordinated relocation. Inside the shed, Matteo found a dust-caked ledger. His hands shook as he flipped its brittle pages. Names lined the margins beside coded symbols and payment notes, written in elegant, steady script. Not the handwriting of fugitives in panic. Financial analysis reveals millions of Reichsmarks were funneled through Swiss banks into South American industries. At least 30 corporate fronts tracked directly back to former SS administrators. A heavy thump echoed outside. Matteo froze. He snuffed out his light. Through the slats he saw boots, 2 figures sweeping the perimeter. His skin tightened. Someone meant to keep these records buried. Declassified CIA reports confirm several post-war governments shielded fugitive officers in exchange for intelligence on Soviet movements. Cooperation rates reached 50% in Argentina and nearly 30% in Paraguay. The strangers drifted away. Matteo exhaled shakily. He strapped the ledger against his pack, a small motion that felt like swearing an oath. He knew these pages carried names capable of reshaping accepted history. Linguistic experts later decoded similar ledgers, revealing symbols denoting safe houses with capacity indicators. Some locations could shelter up to 20 individuals at once, proof of widespread coordination. Matteo slipped deeper into the forest. Branches clawed his arms. Ahead, a dim light flickered from a stone cottage. His heartbeat quickened. It could be a trap, yet truth pulled him forward like gravity. Satellite imagery from 2012 spotted more than 40 abandoned structures in this region, all mirroring 1940s German Alpine architecture. Many lay beside expertly graded hidden access roads. Matteo stepped inside. Papers littered the floor, edges charred. A crooked typewriter sat on a table. He brushed dust aside to reveal a partially burnt document marked Transit Lots B. His pulse surged. He'd encountered that codename before. Historians long dismissed Transit Lots B as fiction, yet fragments uncovered in 1998 tied it to extraction routes from Europe to Buenos Aires. Success rates above 65% challenge earlier models entirely. Footsteps approached. Matteo ducked behind the table. Through a crack, he saw Colonel Vargas enter, gun raised. Betrayal chilled him. Vargas accused him of jeopardizing diplomacy by digging where no one wanted answers. Vargas held up a memo from senior command shutting down all investigations. The phrase absence of actionable evidence echoed decades of political denial used to suffocate inquiries. Matteo's hands trembled. His old failure clawed its way back. Then he spotted unburned coordinates on the floor, identical to entries in the ledger. The pattern locked together. This time he knew he wasn't wrong. Matteo bolted through the cottage's back door, heart hammering. Gunshots cracked behind him. He sprinted downhill, branches slashing his face. The forest felt alive, either shielding the secrets he carried or warning him he'd gone too far. Intelligence mapping confirms escape routes spanned more than 4,800 kilometers from Europe to South America. Analysts later charted 23 verified corridors, moving personnel, documents, and assets with surgical coordination. Matteo reached an abandoned radio tower, lungs burning. He climbed the rusted ladder, desperate for height. Wind howled around him as Vargas's soldiers swept the forest below, determined to silence what he'd found. Forensic timelines show multiple officers declared dead in 1945 resurfaced in South American census records, from 1953 to 1961. Match rates above 70% directly contradict wartime casualty reports. Matteo unwrapped the ledger and photographs atop the tower. His fingers trembled. Doubt surged again. What if all this risk hinged on circumstantial evidence? What if the patterns were coincidence masquerading as truth? but archival cross-referencing reveals more than 40 identical escape stamps across separate transports. Fraud analysts estimate the probability of coincidence at less than 5%. The pattern was undeniable. Helicopter blades thundered overhead. International oversight teams arrived, alerted by Matteo's emergency signal. Under their lights, he presented the ledger, photos, and coordinates. Analysts scanned each entry, matching them with 3 sealed escape files. A second verification tied ledger names to restricted immigration logs. Observers noted identical dates and transit points, confirming correlations above 80%. Officials signed an order reopening long-suspended Nazi pursuit operations. Vargas was removed immediately. Witness statements and internal memos exposed his deliberate suppression of investigations. His authority collapsed under measurable proof he had buried the truth for years. In the months that followed, Matteo's findings rippled across agencies. Protocols shifted, prioritizing long-term fugitive identification. Newly adopted tracking models boosted recovery rates by nearly 30% within a year. Excavations at the coordinates uncovered 2 safe-house foundations, a concealed room, and documents referencing travel under aliases. Carbon dating placed their operational use between 1950 and 1962. Decades of sheltering activity confirmed. Museums now display fragments of the ledgers Matteo pulled from the forest. Universities dissect his pattern analysis in research courses. Declassified archives cite his breakthrough as pivotal in exposing the true scale of post-war Nazi dispersion. Analysts estimate Matteo's investigation led to identification of at least 120 additional fugitives. Cross-border cooperation rose by 40%. Dormant operations resurfaced, reshaping global understanding of escape networks once shrouded in myth. Today, historians look to Matteo's simple act, lifting that forest ledger, as the moment modern investigation shifted from speculation to verifiable truth. His discovery became a ritual point, echoed in every archive opened since. And when Matteo returns to the jungle years later, he stands in the same heavy silence he first encountered, only inverted. The forest no longer hides answers. It remembers them. And the impossible problem he once faced now lies solved beneath its canopy.